You cannot make this up. Last week, Maccabi Tel Aviv fans were banned by Birmingham's Safety Advisory Group from attending an away match against Aston Villa after receiving a risk assessment from West Midlands Police. The reasoning was set out in a statement. This decision is based on current intelligence and previous incidents, including violent clashes and hate crime offences that occurred during the 2024 Europa League match between Ajax and Maccabi Tel Aviv in Amsterdam. Based on our professional judgment, we believe this measure will help mitigate risk to public safety. This provoked hysteria, with politicians and media outlets denouncing the decision as anti-Semitism and also smearing anyone who backed the decision as racists. As the polling showed, that meant smearing the British public as anti-Semites. We'll come on to all that, but it is a very revealing incident or saga about Israel and Palestine and our political and media elites. Then yesterday, Tel Aviv's police banned the Tel Aviv derby between Maccabi and Hapoel Tel Aviv. Why? For what the police called public disorder and violent riots. You will not hear me often saying, I've got to hand it to the Tel Aviv police, but their comic timing here is impeccable. Presumably now, Britain's political and media elite think Tel Aviv's police are anti-Semites. Now, here are Maccabi Tel Aviv fans throwing flares at Israeli police. And listen to this. According to the anti-Zionist Israeli activist who goes under the catchy handle, I really hate you, they're chanting, Tuama is a terrorist, Tuama is a terrorist. He explains that as the following. Salim Tuama was an iconic Arab football player who used to play for Hapoel Tel Aviv. Here are Maccabi Tel Aviv fans today making racist chants against Tuama. You see, this is the issue here, isn't it? This is one of the key issues. They are racist hooligans. Their culture is soaked in racism. Now, he also shares footage of what he says are Maccabi Tel Aviv ultras roaming the streets of Jaffa earlier today looking for victims to beat up before the game that was eventually cancelled against Hapoel Tel Aviv. Indeed, the new spin is that it was Hapoel fans rioting and not Maccabi. According to Israel National News, the Israeli police announced Sunday evening that the highly anticipated derby match between Hapoel Tel Aviv and Maccabi Tel Aviv at Bloomfield Stadium was cancelled due to widespread use of pyrotechnics and riots in the stands. Fans from both teams hurled flares onto the pitch, producing dense smoke that engulfed the field. Even before the match officially began, police reported that rioters launched smoke grenades and fireworks onto the playing area. In total, 48 smoke grenades and 52 pyrotechnic devices were thrown. Now, we already knew more than enough about Maccabi Tel Aviv football hooligans, which I'll come on to. Let's just consider the hysteria and bile over the decision to ban them coming to Birmingham. Our Prime Minister, unfortunately, Keir Starmer, tweeted about the ban the following. This is the wrong decision. We will not tolerate anti-Semitism on our streets. The role of the police is to ensure all football fans can enjoy the game without fear of violence or intimidation. The Lib Dem leader, Ed Davey, tweeted, a serious mistake by West Midlands Police. You don't tackle anti-Semitism by banning its victims. This decision must be reversed. And Nigel Farage declared that elected members of parliament are supporting the ban on Jewish football supporters coming to Birmingham shows just how much trouble our country is in. The police are giving in to extremist intimidation, which will only make them go further. Now, this has become, of course, a perennial dishonest theme of this whole saga. Politicians and media outlets keep claiming there is a ban on Jewish football supporters specifically, conflating racist Maccabi football hooligans and Jewish people. To be clear, I support the same boycott of all Israeli football teams as existed against South Africa's football teams under apartheid. Such a boycott is no more anti-Semitic than the ban on South Africa's football teams was anti-white or anti-Boer. The pretense here, the despicable lie, is that this is about hating or targeting Jewish people. Our position is very clear. Israel is an apartheid state, like South Africa before it, which is committing genocide against the Palestinian people. Russia has been barred by UEFA and FIFA after the country invaded Ukraine. That decision wasn't driven by anti-Russian hatred or Russophobia. And the Russian regime does actually use the term Russophobia, by the way, to deflect accountability. Not a joke. They use it a lot, actually, in just the same way that false claims of anti-Semitism are deployed to protect Israel from accountability. But even if you refuse to follow the boycott of Israel as a genocidal apartheid state, and you should follow it, but if you don't, the facts are that Maccabi Tel Aviv fans have a long history of racist thuggery. Last year in Athens, they aggressively beat up a man and left him unconscious when they spotted him carrying a Palestinian flag. And then there was Amsterdam last year when Maccabi Tel Aviv played against Ajax. So this is a crucial incident. That descended into violence. I covered that extensively at the time on this channel. And on this occasion, Sky News posted a video package laying out the facts, which was then deleted. Have a watch of what they produced before it was erased with no explanation whatsoever.
Violence in Amsterdam left at least 5 people injured and dozens have been arrested. But what happened? Supporters of Israeli football club Maccabi Tel Aviv arrived in Amsterdam ahead of their UEFA Europa League match against Amsterdam club Ajax. On Wednesday, social media videos verified by Sky News show Maccabi Tel Aviv fans tearing down Palestinian flags from outside of homes. Other social media videos appeared to show residents chasing Maccabi Tel Aviv fans. On Thursday, just before the game, crowds of Maccabi fans were filmed singing racist and anti-Arab songs. While a pro-Palestinian demonstration had been banned by the mayor over fears there would be clashes. Later that evening during the match, Israeli supporters appeared to disrupt the minute silence for Valencia flood victims with chants, whistles and fireworks. Maccabi fans were seen attacking locals as a police car can be seen driving by. People with Palestinian flags were seen marching on the streets. Maccabi supporters say they were beaten and attacked on the streets of the Dutch capital, with videos showing some of the violence.
Say free Palestine and we go. Good.
Sky News could not independently verify all of the footage shown. Police arrested 62 people. 5 were taken to hospital, but have since been discharged. Israeli far-right ultras are notorious for their racism and physical violence. Dutch, Israeli and British leaders denounced the attacks as anti-Semitic and even referred to it as a pogrom. But their statements failed to mention the assaults by the Israeli hooligans against Dutch citizens.
This is unbelievable, absolutely outrageous that you had a package setting out the truth, which was then inexplicably deleted. For what reason? On this occasion as well, footage taken by the journalist, the filmmaker Anna de Graaf of Maccabi fans beating up locals was broadcast by multiple media outlets who claimed it was actually Maccabi fans being beaten up. So they turned the footage on its head. This was that BBC Newsnight did the same. Multiple media outlets did it. They took her footage, which was Maccabi fans on the rampage, and presented it as Maccabi fans being beaten up in an anti-Jewish pogrom. That's what we're dealing with. In a surreal article at the time, an Israeli newspaper claimed there was a pogrom against Maccabi fans, but they included these details. This is what an Israeli woman who arrived in Amsterdam 2 days before the soccer match between Maccabi Tel Aviv and Ajax clubs wrote about the atmosphere in the city. There were huge gatherings and shouts of death to Arabs in Amsterdam's main squares, alongside violence against people holding Palestinian flags. We didn't know that the organised violent reaction from the other side was coming. Leaving the game, 10 Maccabi Tel Aviv fans were roaming the train looking for a Palestinian to beat up. Their words. They didn't find one. They arrived at the central station. At first, everything was fine, she recalled. So even this Israeli newspaper made clear that Maccabi Tel Aviv fans were looking to commit racist violence on the streets of Amsterdam. Furthermore, the Dutch police said that the disturbances began with Maccabi supporters taking Palestinian flags and setting them on fire, while shouting chants about there being no schools in Gaza because we've already killed all the children. And there were multiple other incidents, but the Dutch Public Prosecution Service couldn't pursue them because the footage of those incidents was, according to the Dutch public broadcaster, on their metro, deleted earlier than usual. How convenient. They report two incidents, the public broadcaster in the Netherlands, as follows. Two women reported incidents involving Israeli supporters. One of the women shouted Free Palestine at Maccabi supporters on the platform of the Central Station metro station, who were on their way to the stadium for the match against Ajax. They then allegedly assaulted her. The woman claimed she was punched, spat on, and had her hair pulled. According to her report, this happened right in front of the police, but the officers present were unable to stop the supporters. Another woman reported being threatened. A few days before the match, she was wearing a veil and riding the subway with another woman when Maccabi supporters allegedly shouted, "We will kill all of you." Now, that's not to say there wasn't anti-Semitism too. That there aren't those who conflate Jewish people with Israel and its crimes, or use Israel's crimes in order to justify anti-Semitism, which you should never do. You should always fight anti-Semitism. That doesn't mean Maccabi Tel Aviv fan base isn't infested with genocidal racism. And we know that because we know what the polling in Israel says of the general public. And it is, I'm afraid to say, objectively genocidal. Now, these are the racist thugs who the British government and British media want to come to an ethnically mixed community in Birmingham, which has a large Muslim community. Yet the BBC reported on the ban as though it was a national emergency, a national crisis. They carried a live blog on it and even put out a push notification. We were told breathlessly that talks were happening at pace across government to resolve the ban. This is what government is spending time and resources on. More outrage, more scandal over this ban than there has been over Israel wiping Gaza from the face of the earth and exterminating countless people. I listened to this interview with the Cabinet Minister, Bridget Phillipson, on Sky News today.
Well, I think as you demonstrate, this was these considerations were done, were taken into account by politicians from a range of parties, and therefore I'm not sure whether it is partisan in that way, but for whatever reason, and these discussions have taken place, a decision was reached. We think that decision is very, very difficult to justify, given that it involves fans not being able to attend an away fixture, and we're doing what we can to make sure that that can go ahead.
You say it's not partisan in a way. Does it speak down sectarian lines, though? Is it anti-Jewish to not have these fans coming?
Well, I think that is certainly the concern that many Jewish people in our country feel at the moment. And, of course, it's completely unacceptable that if fans were unable to attend a match because they're Jewish, that runs completely counter to everything that we stand for as a country.
What an absolute farce. What an absolute farce. The interviewer did not mention that the Tel Aviv derby match had been cancelled after riots involving Maccabi Tel Aviv supporters the day earlier. Why? Why isn't that relevant? Why not bring that up? And then both he and the Cabinet Minister frame this as anti-Jewish prejudice. And yet, despite British politicians and media outlets screaming about the ban as though it's a national scandal and a national crisis, a poll by YouGov found that 42% of the British public support the ban, with just 28% opposing it. This sums up everything to do with Israel and Palestine. We've had a political and media elite which has supported and justified and whitewashed Israel's genocidal mayhem, and now they're lining up behind racist Israeli football hooligans. But British public opinion takes a completely different view, and has all the way through. Those of us smeared as dangerous, hateful extremists represent the mainstream of where British voters are at on this issue. And if you don't think this coverage could get worse, look at the state of this. I just can't believe, I cannot believe this. I can believe it, but I also can't believe it. This was originally presented by Sky News as an interview with a Jewish Aston Villa fan, and he is captioned as the honorary president of Aston Villa Jewish Villains Supporter Club.
However, in the last 24 hours, I've had online death threats over this issue. I was threatened to be stabbed if I went to the game. And, if they can't protect Maccabi Tel Aviv fans, how can they protect my Jewish friends when they're walking around wearing an Aston Villa shirt and a Star of David? How can they protect me when I'm getting death threats online? This is really serious stuff. So I think the police generally do a great job, but they do owe us a better explanation as to what's actually going on here. Everyone just wants to go to a football match safely, enjoy the game, enjoy our magnificent stadium at Villa Park, and hopefully see an Aston Villa win. And that's what everyone wants. So without fans in the stadium and the opposing away end, that is going to impair the experience. So I would like to see the local council and the police do everything they can to facilitate this as a normal football game where everyone can enjoy the match in safety.
On the Sky News website, he was also described as follows. Jewish Aston Villa fan says he has received death threat. He's not Jewish. He's not Jewish in the slightest. As for Aston Villa Jewish Villains, there is no evidence that exists on Google at all. Who are they? Why don't they exist on Google? Why, if you type in that, do you get nothing except his recent interview? Who is this man? I'll tell you who he is. He's a pro-Israel propagandist who works for the Henry Jackson Society, a hardcore pro-Israel organization. It gets so much worse. Let me show you what we're dealing with here. A year ago, the New York Times published a detailed piece based on the testimonies of dozens of US-based medics who'd served in Gaza, as well as 160 photographs and videos, which detailed the shooting of Palestinian children in the head and chest by Israeli snipers. Andrew Fox took one of the x-rays of a Palestinian child with a bullet in their head and joked, "Posthumous x-ray of Sinwar just released." This was a reference to the assassinated Hamas leader, Yahya Sinwar. Andrew Fox defended his vile post by claiming it was faked, that it was a weird Microsoft Paint bullet x-ray. He was claiming that this detailed piece of journalism was a hoax. Because of truthers like Andrew Fox, the New York Times was forced to issue a public clarification that the accounts and imagery had been verified with supporting photographic and video evidence and metadata, as well as verifying the doctors' and nurses' credentials. They presented these scans, they said, to a new round of multiple independent experts in gunshot wounds, radiology, and pediatric trauma, who attested to the image's credibility. In another example, after footage of a grieving Palestinian father carrying his baby who'd been slaughtered by Israeli weapons, when someone challenged Andrew Fox about why tens of thousands of Israelis were cheering on the deaths of civilians that Fox claimed Israel was accidentally killing, Fox replied, "Because that's obviously a doll. And mockery is what a shit attempt of faking an atrocity deserves." Absolutely depraved behavior. Literally looking at footage of atrocities and claiming that they're being fake. Seeing a grieving Palestinian father with his dead baby murdered by Israeli weapons and claiming that this man, this bereaved parent holding his dead child, is in fact part of some fakery and he's actually holding a doll. And there have been repeated debunked claims that images, footage of Palestinian babies murdered by Israeli weapons are dolls. And Andrew Fox was one of them. Now, in a sane world, this disgusting little man would be a pariah, someone regarded as a sick crank. Indeed, Sky News have presented him as a Jewish random Aston Villa fan who had been subjected to hateful abuse online, with no explanation about his actual job, his affiliation, the fact he's literally a pro-Israel propagandist. He's in Israel at the moment, or indeed his nauseating track record. This alone should lead you to ask searching questions about the sort of media that we have in this country. And yet this whole incident has been turned predictably into an opportunity to whip up hatred against British Muslims. The local MP, Ayub Khan, has been subjected to a tidal wave of Islamic bile online. Robert Jenrick, the Tory shadow cabinet minister who's pitching to become the party's leader, claimed it vindicated his claims about the failures of integration in Birmingham. Journalist David Patriarakos, I probably mispronounced his name, so apologies there, but he writes, "Keir Starmer must understand that this is no longer about football. The question facing him is simple. Who runs Britain's second city? The government or sectarian Islamists? His answer will shape our future." So we end up with the British government and media overriding the police's operational independence, helping to stoke community tensions in Britain, and not just ignoring British public opinion, but de facto smearing it. Why? To protect a bunch of football hooligans from Israel and their right to rampage through the streets of an ethnically mixed Birmingham community, waving Israeli flags and chanting death to Arabs, and chants about murdering Palestinian children, while their country continues to murder Palestinians, having wiped Gaza from the face of the earth. If you feel like you're going mad, I can promise you this, you're not going mad. It's the people running the country who are insane. But as I keep saying, you can only turn the world on its head for so long. Please like and subscribe, leave your thoughts or your comments. Help us challenge the absolute travesty, disgrace that is the British media. Because there's the evidence. Patreon.com/OwnJazz84. You make all of this possible. We're not obviously funded by millionaires and billionaires, but all the output we put out is all because of you. Do share the video. Leave your comments, as I say. Share the video. I'll speak to you in a bit.